357HC. He's a local YouTuber. Adam's channel focuses on making firewood, sawing lumber, and excavation projects on his property. I've watched it many a time, Adam. He's got some good shows on there. Hometown Acres YouTube channel.
Hey everybody, Adam here with Hometown Acres. Welcome back. As you saw in that intro, last night was our local Linesville, Pennsylvania lighted tractor parade. It is the largest lighted tractor parade in the country. I don't think there's that many lighted tractor parades around the country. That being said, it is a pretty large event for our area. I think they said we had over 10,000 in attendance last night, and there was over 120 tractors in the parade. So this was the first year that we participated in it, and it's a pretty cool event in the area to get you, it's the first Saturday in December every year, and it just kind of gets you in the Christmas spirit. And it was perfect weather for it. We had snow on the ground. It was about 30 degrees, so it was cold enough to feel like Christmas, but not too cold to make it unbearable. But yeah, so that was a fun event. Kids loved it. We all had a good time. But that's not what today's video is about. Today's video is about the pond. I think, we had about a foot of snowfall here over the last couple days, and I don't know if you can tell, but today it's fairly warm out. It's about 45 degrees, so we've already had some snow melting. We've got the pump from RPS Solar running in the background here, and tomorrow they're calling for locally heavy rainfall. So in addition to the snow melt, the pump running, and locally heavy rainfall, I think today's Sunday, I think by Tuesday, this upper pond might be full for the first time since we started construction on it about 3 years ago. I've been saying since we finished our third repair attempt on this pond back in July or August, that I think this pond, if it's fixed, should be full by Christmas. And if what I think is gonna happen happens, I think this pond should be full in the next 2 days. I mean, I think we're gonna have some serious flooding issues because not only did we get a foot of snow here, but a little further north of us up in Erie, Pennsylvania, or not north, but upstream from us, they got 3 or 4 feet of snow. When all that snow melts and we get this heavy rainfall, the rivers and creeks and everything are gonna be just completely overrun. I think we're gonna have a serious flooding problem. I'm calling it now, but that'll be good for us here with this pond. So anyway, let me walk you around a little bit and show you where we're at right now. So my water level marker there is a little bit too far out for me to even be able to see what the water level is. I need to get out there once this ice breaks up and in the kayak and bring that a little closer to shore. But here's the water we got coming out of the RPS solar pump. You can see there must have been a little bit of ice in the line here because I've got it run above ground up to the dam. I don't think there was any ice once it was underground, but this section here must have had a little bit, and you can see that pump is pretty powerful to be able to force that ice out of the line. I did check the ice thickness the other day. It was only about 3/4 of an inch thick, so not nearly thick enough to get out on. It needs to be 3 or 4 inches thick to get out and walk on it. But we'll walk around. I think we should be able to see the water level on the standpipe over there to see how close we are to full. And not only do we have the water coming in from the pump from RPS Solar, but we also have our ground-fed spring here bleeding in, which again, it just broke above freezing first thing this morning, so it's not a lot right now. But once the snow really starts to melt and we get some rainfall, I bet you all 3 of these pipes are gonna be full putting water in. So we're about to add a significant amount of water to this pond. Okay, so it looks like the water level is just right about where the standpipe comes up out of the dam, maybe a hair over it. Let's see. It looks like we are about 9 foot 10 inches. Oh, sorry, there. 9 foot 10 inches is the water level, I think. And here is just a view of the entire pond all at once. Now let's go down and check to see where the water level is on pond number 2 and 3. So I think the last time we left off, pond number 2 here was completely empty, and we had just finished doing all of our plumbing work to bury our water line from 2 to number 1, and got that dry well or dry hydrant in there. And so this pond has come up significantly since that time. It's almost full. And I actually came down here and checked the ice thickness on this too, because I thought maybe this one would freeze up faster and we could maybe do a little bit of ice skating on this one. But the problem is, or I guess not the problem, but on this side here, I've mentioned before that we have springs that bleed out on this side, and you can see all of the melted snow. But even whenever it was frigid cold, 20 degrees out every single day, this side of the pond never froze because all of those springs coming out were just constantly, I mean, it was probably 65-degree water coming out of the hillside there and just melting the ice on this side. But yeah, last time you guys saw this pond, it was pretty much empty, and that was only 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it's just about full. I want to say we're probably, I don't know, 8 or 10 inches from full, and you cannot see that cap for our dry hydrant in the bottom there, which was my goal. I wanted to make sure that you would not know that there was a pump in this pond pumping water and ruin the aesthetics or the look of it. And I'll show you how close we are to full over on this side where our overflow pipe is. So yeah, we probably actually only have about 6 more inches to go to get this one full. Once the water starts breaking over top of that elbow there, it'll start filling pond number 3. So, and we've started pumping again out of this one, as you guys saw. Even with pumping water out of here, this one is still able to maintain its water level right now, just because we have so much water coming from the springs in the ground, the snow melt, and local rain. So that is the update as of right now. As the weather breaks above freezing for the first time here this morning, we will check back in and continue to monitor as the snow melts, and tomorrow when we start getting some locally heavy rainfall, and see what happens. All right, so it's about 9 a.m. the next morning. As you can see, most of our snow has melted. We still have some residual, but it does take a little while for all of that snow melt to work its way off the hill down here. You can still see there's a lot left back up in the woods. A lot of the snow here in the yard is melted. But it's kind of like a wood stove, right? When you fire it up, you might have a lot of flame, but not a lot of heat. It's kind of the same thing here. Once the snow melts, it takes a while for it to permeate down off the hillside, down through the ground, and work its way down. But we've gotten about a ½ inch of rain here this morning. And as you can see, our water flow from all 3 pipes, our spring, our French drain, and all that, now we're getting some serious water coming out of here, which is making up for the fact that it's pretty cloudy out right now, so we have no solar going in. So we've got no water coming out of our, pond number 2 up here with the solar pump. Let's go check to see how much the water levels come up in 24 hours. I may have been a little hasty in my expectation, thinking that this pond was going to be full by tomorrow. It is, again, 9 a.m. Monday morning, 24 hours after I made that prediction, and the pond has not come up as much as I thought it was going to with all of that snow melt. But again, it does take a while to work its way down off the hill. But let's check to see where our water level is. So when we were out here yesterday, the water level was at 9 foot 10 inches. And I can tell just by looking at it, we've come up a good bit already. And right now we are at about 10 foot 2. So we've come up 4 inches. And I think part of the reason that I was expecting it to be full by now is because I'm used to seeing, this kind of snowfall would bring the water level up, 6, 8, 12 inches. But I keep forgetting that the further it comes up, the more water it takes to bring it up another inch, because your surface area keeps growing every inch you come up. So, the last 2 feet might take as long to fill as the bottom 6 feet, just because the surface area is so much bigger. So right now, we'll be about 12 feet to get to full. So, math on camera here, we still have 1 foot and 10 inches left to go. But this is getting dangerously close to the fullest that the pond has ever been. And I'd be willing to bet that once the rain stops and all of this snow melts off the hillside and works its way into the pond, we will be at a new all-time high for the pond. So that's the update for right now. We'll check back in again here in another day or two once all this water has worked its way off the hillside. All right, so it is now Wednesday. Not really a whole lot happened yesterday. We had a little bit more rain. Most of the snow had already melted off, but we did finish melting off the rest of the snow and got back down to just bare earth. And as you can see, the snow has made a return here this afternoon. Today is Wednesday, and we have a nice little trickle coming out of our springs and French drain. Not a lot, but a nice slow little seep that is just continually adding water. Let's go check to see what the water level is now on Wednesday, 4 days after we started this video. So last we left off down here was Monday morning, and I think we were at 10 foot 2 inches, and right now we are at 10 foot 4.5. I think This is the most water we have ever had in the pond. I think this is the fullest it's ever been. Right now we are 1 foot 7 inches away from being full. But what's really interesting is what's happening down at pond number 2. Let's go check that out. So pond number 2 down here is full, and I mean full. Like, it is overflowing at the current moment in the overflow pipe. So this is as much water as you will ever see in here. It cannot hold any more water. I'm very happy with how this turned out down here. It's actually a nice surface area. If we did want to start ice skating on this, it's plenty big enough to be able to throw a hockey puck around or anything like that. But I mean, if you look, the above ground area there is pretty much right level with the water's edge. I think we kind of got lucky when we set this overflow pipe that it was not any higher, because if it had, we would actually be losing water over and around, you know, the earth sides instead of filtering down through the overflow pipe. But yeah, you can see water going down in there right now and coming out into pond number 3. And it's actually coming out pretty good. Let's walk around to the other side and see how much the water is coming out. Yeah, so there's a really good amount of water coming into pond number 2 right now, and then coming right back out and into pond number 3. And this should be full here very shortly as well. The only downside to that solar pump from RPS Solar is right now I would rather have that water going into pond number 1 than overflowing into pond number 3. So it's almost like wasted water right now. But as you can see, we've got no solar at all right now, completely cloud covered, and that pump is not running. I need to figure out a way, and there is a way. That pump will run. You could bring a generator down here and run, as long as it put out 240 volts, you could run that pump off of a generator, which I'm gonna need to look into here soon, because I really wanna keep this water going up to pond number 1 rather than overflowing into pond number 3. So that's the downside to solar is, you know, when you're producing a lot of snow and rain and all that, typically you're not producing any sun, which is what you need to run the pump. But yeah, this pond down here is very happy with how this turned out. Plenty big enough, much nicer than what we ever set out for it to be. And it just so happens to collect a tremendous amount of water. I think when we started this video 4 days ago, we were 6 or 8 inches away from being full. And in 4 days, we filled it up the rest of the way. And we were even, I think on Monday, even pumping water out of here for 4 or 5 hours. The sun actually did come out, and we were stealing water from this pond to run it up to pond number 1. And so this pond has filled up 6 to 8 inches even while running the solar pump one day. All right, so it is now Thursday morning, and as you can see, the sun has come out, clear blue skies. I went and cleaned off the solar panels this morning, and we are back to having water run from the RPS solar pump. Let's go check to see what's coming out of the spring. We'll check the water level up here, the water level down at pond number 2. So here's what we have coming out of the spring. I should mention that it is about 15 degrees out right now, and we still have groundwater running. The ground is not frozen, but that's also important to note if you're thinking about getting a solar pump from RPS Solar. Even in 15-degree weather, as long as you have your line buried, you can still pump water. And it's kind of hard to tell right now with the snow and ice around the base of that, but I'm going to say we're at about 10 foot 6 inches. So we have now come up 8 inches since Sunday with the original snow melt, then the rain, and now more snow, and pumping water from pond number 2. Speaking of pond number 2, we are still full, still draining down into the standpipe, or the overflow, I should say. It's not really a standpipe, it's an elbow. And even with the pump from RPS Solar running, we still have water coming out of this side. I would imagine that as we reduce the water level in pond number 2, this will slowly start to slow down, because we will eventually pump the water level lower than the overflow pipe there. So we'll check back in with you guys at the end of the day here and see if we get a full day of sun, how much more water we can bring up that pond number 1 from 10 foot 6 inches right now.
So this was Saturday morning, and it was about 9 degrees out, and even though the sun was out, the pump was not running, which meant that the line was frozen. So I took my little blowtorch out here and defrosted the line a little bit, and you can see after about 5 or 10 minutes of heating up that line, water started pumping, and we were back off to the races again. All right, so it is now Saturday evening. The sun is just about ready to set over there. We're still getting water coming out of the RPS solar pump. Pretty good solid flow coming out of there. And the pond is not full yet, but it has come up a pretty good amount. I mean, I know at the beginning of this video, I thought it would have been full by Tuesday. It's now Saturday and we're still not full. But again, I keep forgetting how much water it takes to come up an inch when you're talking about this much surface area. So we'll stop over here at the standpipe and see where we came up in about 6 days time with snow melt, rainfall, more snow, and pumping water from pond number 2. So if we look there, we are just about to 10 foot 8 inches, which means that we came up about 10 inches total in the last 6 days. And I do have good news, at least for the pond anyway. They are calling for about a half an inch of rain tomorrow, and I think an inch of rain on Monday. So again, we've got more snow that needs to come off the hillside again. Not a lot, but a little bit. And we've got another inch or inch and a half worth of rain in the forecast for Sunday and Monday. So we'll probably do another pond update video here soon. I may wait to do it until the pond is full. Again, we've only got 1 foot 4 inches left to go. This is easily the most water that we've ever had in the pond at one time. And what I think is interesting about running the RPS solar pump at the same time as that we have ice on the pond right now is it's interesting to see what happens when you've got 2 or 3 inches of ice on here and you're adding more water. Is the water going to go on top of the pond? Or on top of the ice? Is it going to go underneath the ice? And obviously the ice is going to float. So you can see where the water is actually coming up around the edges until the ice breaks free from the edge and then starts to float. But then you can also see it's melting right around the standpipe there, where the water is permeating up through and coming up around the standpipe. So just kind of cool to see how that works when the water level is rising and there's ice on it. It's got to find some place to go, and what ends up happening is it just ends up floating the ice up higher and then refreezing around the edges at night. So here's the update down at pond number 2. This pond is extremely unsafe right now because we've been pumping water out from underneath the ice that has formed. You can see I actually came down here last night and broke out some of the ice to see how thick it was. It was probably about 2 inches thick as of yesterday, and now it was down to about 9 degrees last night and this morning. So I'd say we're probably maybe 2.5 inches thick, but I just came out here and stomped on this ice to see what it was gonna do, and you could hear it crack all the way around because there's probably a good 2-inch air pocket underneath this ice. And if you look, there's how much the water level has come down in this pond in the last 2 or 3 days that we've been pumping. We've come down probably about 3 inches. So I'm gonna go ahead and step on this again and see if we can get it to crack and see if you guys can hear this. There you go. There's a look at how thick the virgin ice is that I just broke a section off of there. Getting close to being thick enough to walk on, but obviously I can still break it by slamming a 2x4 into it, so don't want to be walking on that just yet.
Anyways, guys, that's gonna about wrap this one up. I know probably kind of a boring video for some of you guys because I'm just out here for 6 days in a row coming out here and checking on the pond. But a lot of people have been asking for updates, and this is what I'm doing pretty much every single day. You know, if I need a 5 or 10 minute break from whatever project I'm working on, let's go check out the pond and see what it's doing. So I thought I'd just bring you guys along for a week long's worth of checking on the pond. So hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, give me a big thumbs up, click that subscribe button, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.